Orson Welles was thrown into the Hollywood machine at a young age, but it didn't take long for him to walk away and form some seriously brutal opinions about his fellow stars. We're talking about the biggest names of the time, legends even, but Welles didn't care. He was more than happy to tear them apart. Peter Biskin's My Lunches with Orson gives us a glimpse into what Welles really thought, thanks to tapes discovered after his death in 1985. It's a front-row seat to how this maverick talent viewed the industry he both ruled and despised. Laurence Olivier, a giant of the British stage, spent his career collecting accolades and playing over 50 film roles. But to Welles, none of that mattered. He saw through all the praise and had no problem calling Olivier stupid straight to the point. Welles especially hated Olivier's production of King Lear for the BBC, famously saying, "It was the worst thing I ever saw in my life." Olivier may have been loved by many, but in Welles's book, he was far from a genius. Orson Welles had no love for Hollywood legend Humphrey Bogart, and he didn't hold back when it came to his opinions. According to Welles, Bogart was both a coward and a very bad fighter, constantly picking fights in nightclubs because he knew the waiters would break them up. Welles couldn't stand how Bogart would make bold, fearless remarks to people, only when he was sure the busboys had his back. It's safe to say, Welles didn't buy into the tough guy image Bogart was selling. Spencer Tracy, often mentioned in the same breath as Olivier and Brando as one of cinema's greatest, didn't escape Welles's wrath either. Welles had a particular disdain for Tracy, admitting he couldn't think of a single great Tracy performance. He gave a small nod to Tracy's role in Judgment at Nuremberg, calling him gigantic. But still, it wasn't enough to change his opinion. Welles said he couldn't stand Tracy's romantic films with Katharine Hepburn, and ultimately described him as just a hateful, hateful man. Welles didn't have much love for Chaplin, calling him arrogant and difficult to deal with. In fact, later in life, Welles compared Woody Allen to Chaplin, saying both had a mix of arrogance and timidity that really set his teeth on edge. Despite this, the two worked together on Monsieur Verdoux in 1947. The idea came from Welles, who suggested a film about the infamous French murderer. Chaplin liked the idea enough to pay Welles $5,000 for it, with the agreement that Welles would be credited for the concept. However, Welles later claimed he wrote the script himself. Welles shared the screen with Joan Fontaine in Jane Eyre, 1943. But let's just say they didn't exactly hit it off. Welles wasn't impressed with her acting, bluntly saying she had two expressions and that's it. Fontaine didn't hold back either, calling Welles's ego oversized in her autobiography. Despite the tension, she still acknowledged his genius, saying he was at his best when directing and acting because he needed that control. Welles, though, was dismissive of Fontaine and her sister Olivia de Havilland. He never understood how either of them had careers in the first place, seeing how they couldn't act. Orson Welles didn't hold back when it came to Norma Shearer. He called her one of the most minimally talented ladies to appear on the silver screen. Critics often dismissed her, claiming her marriage to MGM's production manager, Irving Thalberg, landed her roles, not her talent. But Shearer earned 6 Academy Award nominations, proving she was more than just a product of her connections. In the end, she was a pioneer for strong female characters, no matter what Welles had to say. John Wayne might have gotten a rare pass from Welles for having some of the best manners of almost any actor I've ever met in Hollywood. But Richard Burton, not so much. Welles acknowledged Burton's talent, but quickly followed it with a sharp critique. He's ruined his gifts. He's become a joke with a celebrity wife. Now he just works for money, does the worst shit. For Welles, Burton's decline from a gifted actor to a tabloid punchline was unforgivable.